I've been doing it for so long, and I was taught how to live off the land, and that's just part of something that stayed in me.
Everything my dad taught me was hands-on about alligator hunting, and look, I still have my hands.
He's been on the water with me since he's 3 years old, and I put a life vest on him, and I brought him out there, and deer hunting, you name it, duck hunting. J. Paul was with me, and I tell you what, there's not too many things that J. Paul cannot do.
I think the best little alligator hunting adventure I had was when I was in high school. I shoot this alligator. This thing comes out of the water like a whale. I mean, this thing can fly on the water. It flips over, we go over there, grab it. Now, just me and my brother-in-law, he's maybe 150 pounds. I was maybe, at that time, I was probably 150 pounds myself. We got a 1,000-pound beast we got to put in this boat. We finally end up getting this boat, let's get alligator in the boat. I get it home, tagged it, bring it in. I have to leave, go back to school. So my dad gets to take care of the alligator, and he gets all the glory for the alligator. I get a 12-foot alligator in the boat, home, before time is over, and my dad gets all the props for it. He gets all the pictures taken with it, and all the money and everything out of it. So
had to go back to school.
The moral of the story was, I did a good deed for the day.
Thank you, Bruno. I appreciate you.
I'm such a sap. I'm trying to speed it up, but I need you to see the full length of this clip, because it's just this bond, this hands-on, tangible experience that these guys have together is so meaningful. And why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about swamp people?
Like, not just carnivorous, carnivorous, what's the fucking word?
Oh, Richard. Because he wants to kill all the carnivores. He's saying that's his new stance. I thought this was a joke. The last video, I swear, I thought this was like a one and done, silly sort of, I don't know, a train of thought that went through his brain because he's sitting for such long hours in this chair. This is his hobby. This is what he does. It's YouTube. And look, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I like getting on the internet. I like, these sorts of hobbies, but this isn't soul food right here. This is not where it's at, okay? And so we're talking about swamp people because Richard needs a daddy. He didn't have one. I don't mean to sound so harsh, but that's basically it, okay? I can end the video here. That's basically it. But let's continue.
Cannibal humans to kill other humans?
Well, okay, so I'll just rule this out. So we're talking about humans that don't kill, like, that can't just eat, like, regular meat or,
yeah,
like...
they have to kill other humans.
They have to, like, that's the only food source, they can't supplement it?
Yeah, right, that's right.
So they can't supplement...
Like, let's say it's Tokyo Ghoul. I don't know if you've seen the anime Tokyo Ghoul, but in Tokyo Ghoul, there are these creatures called ghouls. Mm-hmm. They're essentially human. It's just that they have some sort of infection or their genes are mutated where the only thing they can eat is human flesh. That's the only thing that will sustain them.
Okay, but here's the thing, like, what would you do if, like, we were the ones that were the
I don't see how that I don't see how that's relevant. Are you or are you not in favor of allowing carnivorous cannibal humans to just kill and eat other humans?
This is a tough one.
Down here in the swamp, our family has to stay together. That's how we live. That's how we survive. I mean, without family, you have nothing down here.
The person who taught me to fish alligators was my mom. She's the one who taught me how to fish. We were taught how to trap. We were taught how to hunt. We were taught how to, to provide for the family.
So he's talking to Slightly Crazy Vegan. They're both vegans, and they're debating this idea of killing carnivores, basically because it would bring less suffering to animals in general. I know, it's laughable. I get it. Go check out Shar. I'm going to link her video in the description. She talks about some of the implications that could come from, this ecosystem failure if we were to kill off the carnivores. And speaking of, this is why they regulate the gator hunting so tightly down south. There's 1 month out of the year they can do this, and they're only given a certain amount of tags to hunt. But I'm basically going to look at more of the psychological perspective here, because that's really what I'm interested in, because there's something wrong here. Before I even go any further with this, because I've already mentioned the dad issue, and I know, like, some people have an issue with me getting personal, we all have problems, and not all of us grew up in the best of circumstances. We all have our issues. So right off the jump, I just want to say that not every man has to take their son fishing or hunting or even their daughters. I had plenty of female friends growing up that went hunting and fishing with their dads, that sort of thing. And as you saw, what's his name here just said that he learned all of this from his mother. So, yeah, when I speak generally, I'm talking about what works like across the board for the most part for the majority of people. So I don't know why people always get confused these things and get offended, but they do. So I see these men that grow up and they didn't learn these things. And look, I've lived all over. I've lived where the swamp people live, in Houma. I've lived in Gonzales. I've lived in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Central Louisiana. And it's like a whole different world the further south you go in Louisiana, because the accents get deeper. It's kind of like here in Kentucky as well. The thicker the accent, the harder it is to understand these people. But if I start rambling a little bit here, just know I got my seltzer in my hand, and it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this one. So what I'm basically saying is, as a man who didn't learn these things growing up, and that's to no fault of your own, you can adopt these things. You can easily, men who have masculinity that is not toxic, by the way, need outlets for these sorts of things. Some men that are working all the time and don't have time for much, they collect guns. Some men go fishing when they have a little time off. Some men go hunting, There's just different things that different men do. And we live in a modern culture where you have to sort of like pick and choose what it is you're going to do, because we're not, living just for survival anymore, right? Or, not in the way that we have to like just grow our food, hunt our food, that sort of thing. So, Richard, for instance, he took up this YouTube thing, and that took courage and motivation and things like that. He has sort of fine-tuned this whole veganism stance that his ego is so tightly bound to. And instead of looking for a new way to get out of his chair and get out of his comfort zone and figure out a way to physically and tangibly recreate, if you will. This isn't specifically for Richard, okay? This is for any man, anywhere, who just doesn't see it as a possibility, as doing anything like this that I'm talking about. But I feel like it's profoundly important. Even if you build your own garden, like, why isn't a vegan should be off top? You should have a garden. Like, why don't you have a garden? His wife wants a sanctuary. Surely he has enough money to begin the process to build a sanctuary. You could start with a few animals. It doesn't have to be much. So by him not doing that is telling me something more is going on here.
I mean, the only thing is like, probably not, but then what would we do if we were the carnivorous ones?
That's not relevant. So if there were carnivorous cannibal humans who the only way they could survive is by killing and eating other human beings, would you just let them kill and eat other human beings?
No.
Okay, then where's the contradiction?
Back to this argument, because Slightly Crazy Vegan is really having to contemplate on this because she hasn't thought any of this through. She thinks she's vegan because she's being less harmful to animals in general, and he's telling her that, oh, well, if we start killing all the carnivores, it'll be a net positive for the animals, right? That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing this to be vegan for. And in the comment section, all of the people that are like, you're getting positives and negatives, mostly negatives, to what he's saying, but they're saying he's speciesist. And that but what they don't understand is, you see, they're actually speciesist. Because once you become equality for all, every bug, every rabbit, every squirrel, every dog, every cat, every pig, every chicken, every cow, is the same, as equal as to a human life, as to your best friend's life, as to your mama's life, as to your kid's life. You see what I'm saying? Is if we have equality for all, well, well, see, with humanity, with as far as humans have been concerned, freedom has been an overall sort of agreement for the left and the right. And why am I talking about freedom? Because freedom says that the way we treat other humans is we don't interfere with what it is they're living and doing and whatever. You know, you mind your business unless they're trying to kill themselves or kill somebody else. Basically, that's how I've lived my life, at least. Now, even the killing yourself part, that's kind of touchy for me, because it's like, I don't know who decides on that, who decides like what mental state someone's in and where to come and, you know, infringe upon their rights. The point is, as long as they're not trying to harm someone else, you leave people alone. You mind your business.
Because we're supposed to be for not killing animals.
Well, you're not in favor of killing human beings, but you literally just said that there's a situation where you would be in favor of killing human beings for overall well-being.
Yeah, only if I was the one that was non-carnivorous.
See, only if she's being
Because
harmed.
it would be against my survival.
She minds her business otherwise.
I don't see... Okay, so wait, you're telling me if... Okay, let's change the hypothetical. Let's say xenomorphs existed. I don't know if you've seen Aliens yet, but...
I had a big giant bald spot right in the front. Like there could be any worse.
I had to leave this ad because, wow, this algorithm knows exactly how to cater to vegans.
Place for it.
Xenomorphs are these alien creatures that kill and eat other human beings, and they also use human beings to like nest and breed and make more of these killer aliens. If there were an alien species that saw this going on, would you not be in favor of killing off those, you know, xenomorphs that are killing and eating human beings?
Like, obviously, we've got to keep, like, surviving.
Okay, well, what if you're... So you're saying if you were this alien, like this alien race that had the power to stop humans from getting, you know, mass murdered by these killer carnivorous creatures, you're telling me you just let that happen?
What he's saying is, he's been sitting in that chair for so long, thinking and evolving these ideas, that he's decided he just needs to be a dictator. He can't do anything hands-on. He won't do anything hands-on. He refuses to. He is only vegan because it is convenient for him to be this way. And because he has the income available to eat all the mock meats he wants. And there's diners and restaurants that have vegan options everywhere. The grocery store has plenty of vegan options. It's easy. It's convenient. If it weren't, he would not be a vegan. Oh my goodness. Of course not. And so when I mentioned the dad thing at the beginning, I mention it because these hands-on experiences are so vital to our survival, to our soul, to our spirit. Even if you don't have a family, even if you never have, you know, a parents or kids, you need a community. And I'm not talking about online, which that's okay as well. But you need at least a few people around you in your life physically that you do things with, that you connect with. Otherwise, this is what happens. You sit in your chair thinking, hating people, and become the male version of a Karen. What, a Kevin? I guess that's what he is now. And you become a dictator. You decide... He is a speciesist, although they're telling him he's not a speciesist. They are all speciesist as well. Otherwise, they couldn't even have a garden. They couldn't, you know, kill all the bugs to get their food, because that would be murder. You know, they wouldn't be okay with killing at least some of the mice, some of the bunnies, some of the deer, some of the birds to get their food. They think they're doing less damage overall. So they do think their life is more important than an animal's, okay? Even if they don't think any other person does.
Oh my god, this is mind fuck. Oh my god.
Like, I'm just not seeing the contradiction. You seem to be perfectly willing to kill human beings or, like, kill other creatures if it meant saving other creatures. So I don't see what the issue is here. Like, from both a utilitarian perspective and from a rights perspective, I don't see how this could possibly be an issue or create a contradiction, because if we're looking at this from a rights-based approach, well, these carnivorous creatures are the ones that are infringing on the rights of, their prey.
Like, they're infringing on the rights of these prey animals. And, like, you guys, this isn't fair. Why don't I get to decide who lives or dies? Why does stupid daddy God get to decide this? I'm actually glad Richard did this, because what he's doing here, he's exposing how incoherent veganism is. If you are to remain consistent in your belief system with veganism, well, they tell us all the time, these animals are someone's. You have to treat them all as equal. You have to give them equal rights, equal human rights. And so, just like Richard just said, their rights are being infringed upon, these prey animals. They have an inherent right, like us, right, to not be killed. So where does this end? This vegan utopian world that they've dreamed up in their imaginations in their apartment. These people in the comments, they don't even realize they're speciesist. They don't even realize it. How do they not realize it? They know that they're killing certain bugs, certain animals that they deem, less sentient. Name the trade, all that dumb crap they spill. You see what I'm saying? Like, they have their certain ones that they deem less important to their cause. And that's that, right?
So whether it's, ghouls from Tokyo Ghoul, like these, hypothetical human beings that are carnivores and cannibals, or xenomorphs, they're the ones infringing on the rights of their prey. And from a utilitarian perspective, this creates less suffering and death. So if this one carnivorous creature has to kill countless other animals to survive, well, killing that carnivorous creature potentially saves, I don't know how many creatures throughout what would have been its lifetime.
Yes, good. Yes, I'm loving it. Now let's get Unnatural Vegan. Let's get Swayze on board, because this is consistency, right? This is about doing the least amount of harm, right? This is what veganism is. Less overall suffering. We hate God. We hate that we can't understand why this world is the way it is, and that we have no control over certain things. So let's be God, right? That's what everyone is telling themselves anyway, that we're gods. But we're not speciesists, but we're gods. But we get to dictate what happens with every other life. But we're going to be all equal.
I don't see how this could possibly create a contradiction or be an issue for you, whether you're like a deontologist or a utilitarian.
You would only that you'd kill off like the carnivores, but obviously you're referring to the omnivores as well, right? Because they also kill.
Yeah, there could be some exceptions. Like, I know birds, a lot of birds kill and eat insects. I don't see that as really an issue, like anteaters as well, because most insects are also carnivorous or omnivorous, so that's not really a big deal to me. And insects are pretty low on the sentient spectrum as well, so like, a very sentient animal like a bird that's quite intelligent versus, a bunch of ants or worms.
Yeah.
Even if they're not carnivorous creatures, I don't know if it's justifiable to, end the life of a bird just to save like a worms,
Yeah. Yeah. I saw your stream the other day, and it was like, you said something about killing off spiders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but spiders mostly eat like flies, and other insects that have very low sentience.
Yeah. Flies do experience like pain though. With spiders, like, you could look at, like, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit agnostic with spiders. I don't know if most of their prey are carnivorous, like
as their god, that is also equal, even though those two things don't make sense together. Yeah, as their god, I will protect all of the prey animals as long as they are not omnivorous in any sort of way. And maybe in a lab somewhere someday we can all come together, all of us vegans, and formulate a food for these carnivores to eat to sustain themselves, like we've done for our cats that are thriving. As Shar said, it doesn't really matter. It's not like he's going to actually pick up a gun. Well, we don't know about that, but you know what I mean? It's convenient for him to sit in his chair and to talk and to think, and that's why he does what he does. It works for him. He's privileged enough to be able to sit and do that. He is not going to put any effort into anything that he actually says he believes. Okay, so he's preaching all of this to people that are normal, 9-to-5, blue-collared, barely making it, and they're trying to live on beans and rice and, putting everything up in chronometer together just to make sure they're possibly getting what they need. I'm also going to link a video I saw this morning by Vegan Vacancy about the blue zone in Greece. The Utopian, I think it is. I'm not sure, but it's in Greece, and it's the ones that... These people are so healthy. They live long, vibrant lives. They don't have all the sicknesses we do in the West. And vegans like to use these people as examples of, they eat so much tubers and beans and carbohydrates, and they barely ever eat meat. And it's not true. They eat meat almost daily, if not, multiple times a day. They just don't eat beef. They have goat, chicken, pork, sheep, lamb, fish, which lamb is red meat. So they are eating red meat as well. They eat liver. They eat the organ meats and whatnot. So they eat a lot of dairy, milk, cheeses. And they ferment their breads. So they just eat very traditionally. They eat locally. They get their vegetation locally. They don't get it shipped from all over the world from these big monocrops. There's not heavy processing. They're not eating heavy amounts of vegetable oils like we do in the West. Oh my goodness. And of course, with all of these animal foods comes lots of animal fats. And animal fats are okay. Fat is okay. Fat is good. Fat is healthy. It's the processed plant fats that are an issue. So I bring these people up because it's not just about the nutritious way that they're eating that is so healthy for them. They also live a very productive, family-oriented sort of life. So their activities are just par for the course. Like these guys that are out alligator hunting, they're moving, they're exerting a lot of energy. They're doing things like this. Obviously, they're not alligator hunting, but they're fishing, they're working on their farms and their gardens, and instead of waking up in your apartment and doing a quick workout before you go sit in a cubicle, if that makes sense.
Down here in the swamp, our family has to stay together. That's how we live. That's how we survive. Without family, you have nothing down here.
The person who taught me to fish alligators was my mom. She's the one who taught me how to fish. We were taught how to trap. We were taught how to hunt. We were taught how to provide for the family.
The family unit structure, having people love, trust, that you're doing all of these sorts of things with, you're getting tangible, real, hands-on, lived experience with, that is a crucial part of this puzzle of health, because mental health is also included. We are not gods. So it's so common for people that don't have a father growing up or have, dysfunctional family issues, they end up hating God. They don't understand the way this world works, and nobody does, but you have more of a sense of stability when you were rooted and grounded in love and a proper upbringing. So the soul, the spirit, the mental health, the nutritional aspect, it all comes together to make an upstanding person in this world. A good, happy person does not want to be a god. You know, they don't want to do that. They mind their business. Like I said from the beginning, we're all speciesist. Part of that entails that we protect the human race first, because that's who we are part of. That's the first, most important animal on this earth. And that's that. This just is the way it is. You can ask God all about it when you're done here.
The issue is there's a huge portion of ghouls who aren't ethical, who will just go out and kill human beings to eat or for fun, even though there's ethical alternatives. They have like weird taste preferences with which human beings they'll kill. So the normal humans in this universe, they like kind of have to just kill off all ghouls.
Like we'd have to have it kill all the species, like all of that species, without killing off a herbivorous species.
And so this is what you get. This is inevitable. You get fantasy world. You get mental illness, fantasy world, imaginary play pretend world, when you don't have these real, shared, lived experiences with the people that you love. And these shared experiences, by the way, I don't know if I've said this already, they don't have to be centered around food, gardening, fishing, hunting. It could be arrowhead hunting, you know, looking through rocks for gems at the creek. It could be going to the lake. It could be looking for starfish on the beach. It could be golfing. It could be horseback riding. It could be anything that you share with the people that you love, whether that is your children, your sister, your nieces, your aunts, your best friends. And I would just encourage people, not just men, but if you weren't taught something, but you thought it would always be cool to do, well, look it up, research it. Go to the bait shop if it was fishing and talk to the guy behind the counter. Ask him which bait you should get. Where should you go to fish? You know, where can you get a fishing pole? And just do it. Do it by yourself if you have to. And for vegan gains, it would be the sanctuary, obviously. It would be a small garden even. Get out of your chair and do something. And I'm going to let him wrap this up. I'll let him explain just how inconsistent veganism's beliefs are.
But again, like, you're the one who claimed that, you know, my stance was hypocritical. Do you agree now that it's not? Like, there's no contradiction?
It's hard for me to imagine, like, killing off, like, a whole lot of species to be ethical. So I'd have to think about it.
Right, but like you said that my position was contradictory. Do you agree that my position was not contradictory?
Maybe just because the whole vegan thing, I feel like it's contradictory to veganism because we always say that.
Yeah, but you have to point out the contradiction. What is the contradiction?
Well, veganism is about not harming animals, and yet that contradicts the veganism thing about harming animals, I guess.
So, no, there's nothing in veganism that entails never harming animals. Like, again, if harming an animal resulted in less net harm or less rights violation, then you'd be in favor of that, right? Like, just like how if a human being were a serial killer, like, if killing them resulted in fewer people dying, you'd be in favor of that, correct? So... Yeah. No, like, being vegan doesn't necessarily entail that you can never harm an animal.
Not never harm, but yeah, it just seems, I'm just saying, like, it just seems a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around saying that.
Well, sure, like, it's, like, the only issue is that I have is you claimed there was a contradiction. You haven't pointed out a contradiction, so even if you still disagree, that's fine, but do you admit that there's no contradiction that you can point out right now?
Definitely.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think that I can think of a contradiction.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
So, a lot of vegans want animal products. Like, that's the food you want. It's a religion at this point. It's a really weird, really sad religion.